The Suffering. This is Planet Horror. I'm SHARKEYES, and this is our review of the Xbox and PS2 game The Suffering. You play as Torque, a man convicted and sentenced to death at Abbott State Penitentiary on Carnot Island for murdering his ex-wife and 2 children, although he claims to have blacked out and cannot remember anything. An army of monsters is released into the prison. Torque gets freed from his cell, and now the games begin. Your mission is to find a way out of the prison and ultimately escape Carnot Island. Monsters personify the many forms of execution the island has played host to through history. You have the Slayer, which is seemingly the representation of death by decapitation. The Marksman, a representation of execution by firing squad, being an incarnation of both the firing squad and their victim. Mainliners are a representation of lethal injection. Borrowers buried alive. The Noosemen represent the COs who were skinned, mutilated and lynched as a part of revenge by the inmates. The Spirits appear of Carnot's most famous, or infamous may it be, residents: the deranged psychiatrist, Surgeon Dr. Killjoy, the former executioner Hermes T. Hoyt, and the regretful murderer Horace. With their help, Torque discovers that he can transform into a raging monster. Tormented by visions of his deceased family throughout the game, these encounters vary depending on the player's actions. There is a morality system that offers alternate endings. You can either choose to be a good guy, or you can choose to be a bad guy.
You made the right choice.
The game shows its influences from a couple of films, notably The Shining, in the way that visions appear and you're not quite sure if they're real or imaginary. The House on the Haunted Hill, with Dr. Killjoy, and the way the characters stop at doorways and lead you into trouble, and the camera shows you ghostly flashbacks, all in the House of the Haunted Hill. I also spotted some influence from Alien. Although dated in comparison to today's games graphically, playing through this again was fun and not too difficult. It never felt cheesy or ridiculous. This was an action horror game, and I'd love to see this one remastered in modern graphics actually. The game gets creepier when you learn about the prison Abbott State Penitentiary is based on. The Prison is Hell documentary included on the game disc tells stories of atrocities experienced in prisons and the use of torture, both psychological and physical. The stories are truly shocking and will send chills down your spine. That's true. They will. Right, what did I like about this game? Well, there was a nice variety of weapons, from shivs to axes. I love axes. And shotguns. I think there was one shotgun, Tommy gun, and you could dual wield pistols. Torque's name is pretty cool. The fact his ethnicity is vacant is quite different. As you play through the game, blood goes everywhere. Sprays up walls, covers your character's clothes. Your shirt can go from being a little spattered to dripping wet with the enemy's blood. The creatures all looked awesome, and what makes it better is that they all have an interesting backstory that relates to real happenings on the Carnot Island that aren't far removed from real life atrocities. The art style is unique to anything I played thereafter, on consoles at least. I don't PC games, so. The NPCs are all pretty intelligent, and they can help you kill enemies, even at times finishing them off. It feels like they are really going through this hell alongside you. They all had their own personalities. Some were assholes, others cowardly, and some were so laid back they didn't seem to even care that all hell was breaking loose all around them. The soundtrack was great. Effects were good, apart from a couple gunshot sounds that could have been better. Enemies felt like they were breathing down your neck, so it was uncomfortable when you had to go into confined areas. What I disliked about the game: selecting through weapons in the heat of battle was tricky and often resulted in deaths. Sometimes you die when you fall into certain waters, and you could barely tell which ones would kill you and which ones wouldn't, and you'd be sent back to like wherever you last saved or a checkpoint. To improve it as an action game, weapon customization would have been a welcomed addition, or for horror survival, the addition or yet subtraction of ammo forcing the use of melee weapons. Although the NPCs were pretty helpful, they often bugged out, not moving forward when you did, or vanishing and appearing in front of you. To summarise, The Suffering begins as a horror survival game and ends in an action adventure. To go back and play even in 2015 was highly enjoyable, and I'm going to rate this one at an 8 out of 10.
It is so difficult to tame the brain. Sometimes it needs a little jolt to behave.